Tonight, American Embassy bracing for a 2-week marathon protest backed by think tank IMANI Ghana to pile pressure to secure the immediate extradition of Ken Ofori-Atta as he appears before U.S. immigration judge for the first time tomorrow morning.
Ken Ofori-Atta had taken decisions that had adverse or deleterious effects on Ghanaians. You know, some people died when he unilaterally, arbitrarily decided to give Ghanaians haircuts.
We have details of tomorrow's protest, plus hear from the conveners who say they will be forced to spend nights at the U.S. Embassy if their call is not heeded.
The police had some challenge. They had some difficulties, and we had to, compromise on that.
So you'll be doing this for 2 weeks?
2 weeks. If it doesn't,
from what time to what time every day?
So from 8 a.m. to the evening, say 5 or 6, we leave, and we go back.
Okay.
As and when it becomes necessary for us to pass the night there, we'll do it.
We have details of that here on Top Story. Top Story, as always, is brought to you by Telecel, connecting energies and holy insecticide spray and coil. Enjoy a holy sleep. My name is Fostina Sarfo. Please stay for details. Tonight, the American Embassy here in Accra is bracing itself for a 2-week marathon protest backed by think tank IMANI Ghana to pile pressure on the U.S. government to secure the immediate extradition of former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta as he appears before U.S. immigration judge for the first time tomorrow morning. The former Finance Minister was arrested and kept in detention by the U.S. Immigration, Customs and Enforcement officers following the revocation of his visa. There has since been waging calls for his return to face justice. Tonight, pressure group Arise Ghana is taking their demand to the next level as they hit the street from tomorrow, picketing the U.S. Embassy over the matter. Let's listen to one of the conveners, Selom Dramado, on why exactly they've decided to do this and why it's important to hit the streets.
We are not engaging in cherry picking. We are not engaging in that. Maybe the question should have been, what is Arise Ghana's stance on Sedinam Tamaklo?
Well, what is your stand on?
We are actually taking steps for that lady to also be brought back, because in her case, she has been convicted. She has been convicted. So therefore, she must be brought back to Ghana. And then it is incumbent on the NBC administration, this very administration, that is being superintended by John Dramani Mahama,
right,
to bring her to this country to actually serve her jail sentence. You understand? Because that will put the NDC, that will give some credibility to the NDC. It will redound to the NDC's credit if they are able to bring that lady to also serve her jail term here in Ghana. But the focus now is Ken Ofori-Atta, because Ken Ofori-Atta had taken decisions that had adverse or deleterious effects on Ghanaians. You know, some people died when he unilaterally, arbitrarily decided to give Ghanaians haircuts.
You have fact to that?
Yes. Some people.
And you are linking the death of those people to the haircuts.
Your own station interviewed individuals who were going through frustration as a result of the implementation of.
But you cannot blame that on Ken Ofori-Atta.
We can blame it on him because he unilaterally, arbitrarily took that decision, which had affected Ghanaians, which had taken some people to trauma. And you said we shouldn't link it to him. He's actually responsible for the ailments those people are going through today, the frustration those people are going through today, and those who have died. That is why he must come to Ghana to face accountability. Because The Constitution of Ghana, the preamble of the Constitution of Ghana. With your permission, let me just say this thing to you so Ken Ofori-Atta and his ilks will know that indeed when we say accountability, it is something that is enshrined in the Constitution of Ghana. The Constitution says, and I quote, in the name of the Almighty God, we the people of Ghana, in exercise of our natural and inalienable right to establish a framework of government which shall secure for ourselves and posterity the blessings of liberty, equality of opportunity and prosperity, in a spirit of friendship and peace with all peoples of the world, and in solemn declaration of our commitment and affirmation to freedom, justice, probity, and accountability. That is what is enshrined in the Constitution. That is the preamble of our Constitution, and the Constitution has also talks about some other provisions that you see accountability clearly.
So all this is about accountability, protecting democracy.
Exactly, because if we fail to hold our leaders accountable, what will happen is that criminal gangs will form political parties because they know that when they come and they deplete our coffers.
Well, you heard that Selom Dramado, and he says he will escalate it if indeed their protest is not receiving the necessary attention.
To cover and to listen to Ghanaians, how Ghanaians will be wailing and bleating because of the decisions, the injurious decision Ken Ofori-Atta took, which had affected majority of Ghanaians. You know, under Ken Ofori-Atta, before, you know, in the twilight of his position as the finance minister, about 82,000 Ghanaians slid into poverty. World Bank report, you remember?
But that was not linked to
it. Was linked. Who was managing the state?
No, you cannot blame failure of a country on one head. No, Salom.
The gentleman was charged.
He was the finance minister. So, of course, there were some good things he did, but we cannot blame everything on him. We can blame it on the government of the day at the time. So we cannot say because he was the finance minister, every bad thing that happened because he was the finance minister.
Whose decision actually makes it such that if Ghanaians are going to be rich or Ghanaians will be wealthy, it will emanate from that person? Whose decision? When you look at
it's the governance structure, so it's not based on one person.
Today we are hailing somebody. Majority of Ghanaians are hailing the finance minister, Ato Forson, that he's able to, he's trying to turn things round. Okay, should the economic indicators now be appearing in the negative? Who should we blame?
You blame the administration.
No, we blame Ato Forson because he's
you will choose to blame. But to be fair to former finance minister, you cannot cite him as the reason why the figure you are quoting, so many people slip into poverty. Exactly.
2,000 Ghanaians that were plunged. They were actually plunged into poverty as a result of Ken Ofori-Atta's decision. Because he was the gentleman in the helm. He was the one responsible for economic planning.
Okay.
So you want to tell me that poverty is not a byproduct of economic planning and economic decisions of a country? Because if you are the one managing the kitty and people become rich, is he not going to take credit for it? It's much the same way. If he plunges people into poverty, he must be blamed that he actually took decisions that plunged Ghanaians into abject poverty.
So beyond tomorrow, are you presenting any petitions to anyone at the U.S. Embassy?
At this stage, we don't intend to present any petition. We're just going to be doing the peaceful picket there.
From what time to what time?
For 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yes, we'll be there for 2 weeks because the initial plan was actually to be there Sinidai. You understand? Until Ken Ofori-Atta set his foot there, we will not leave. But the police had some challenge. They had some difficulties, and we had to, compromise on that.
So you'll be doing this for 2 weeks?
2 weeks. If it doesn't,
from what time to what time every day?
So from 8 a.m. to the evening, say 5 or 6, we leave, and we go back.
Okay.
As and when it becomes necessary for us to pass the night there, we'll do.
Okay.
Well, let's explore this further. Join me now is Selim Dramani Dramado, is member of Arise Ghana. I also have with me Franklin Kujo, president of IMANI Africa. Appreciate your time, gentlemen. I'd like to start with Selim. What is your personal interest in the person Ken Ofori-Atta? Why are you doing this?
My personal, okay, let me say good evening to your esteemed listeners. Now back to your question. My personal interest in this is to hold the former Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, to the fire of accountability, because this gentleman has actually destroyed legion of lives, and he must account for his tenure as the former Minister of Finance, because our democracy will be consolidated further if former government officials are held to the blazing fire of accountability. And we must start with Ken Ofori-Atta, because he has destroyed lives and he cannot evade justice or accountability. No. Wherever he is, he must be pursued to come back to Ghana.
This is not the first time. This is not the first time you agree with me that a government official appears to be evading justice. Why have you found your voice now?
You're asking this is not the first time a government official is evading justice?
Indeed. Sedilam Tamaklo, she was tried in absentia.
Okay, so Sedilam Tamaklo was tried in absentia, convicted. Okay, I understand that government is making serious efforts to bring Sedilam Tamaklo back to Ghana to serve her sentence. So at Arise Ghana, we are not doing. I said it a while ago on the pause that Arise Ghana is not doing cherry picking. We are not picking and choosing at all.
But it appears that is what you are doing.
But the focus now is on Ken Ofori-Atta. It doesn't mean that we cannot pursue Ken Ofori-Atta and Sedilam Tamaklo simultaneously. We can do same. But for now, there's a lesser focus on Ken Ofori-Atta because it is clear, unambiguously clear, that he is invading accountability. For the other lady,
but then the legal processes, the legal processes are ongoing. The United States, they've already stated that they would not stand in the way of Ghana, especially with the extradition process. We heard from the Foreign Affairs Minister give us that update. So why not wait for it to actually go through the process, and then he will be brought into the country?
My sister, there's nothing. What you're saying that because the government has also taken initiative and then has received some assurance from the United States authorities that they will not impede the process to bring Ken Ofori-Atta back to Ghana, and then what Arise Ghana has also decided to do, it's not mutually exclusive. You understand? It is not mutually exclusive. We can do both and be. Our role, what we're doing now, is just a complementary effort on the part of citizens of Ghana to also add their voices to what government is doing. For the American authorities to know that it is not just the government of Ghana that is interested in bringing Ken Ofori-Atta back to Ghana to face accountability. The majority of the Ghanaian citizens want Ken Ofori-Atta back, and Justice for Arise Ghana represents the voice of those Ghanaians who are asking Ken Ofori-Atta to come back to Ghana.
Clearly, you tell us that you will not be submitting a petition. So, what then is the purpose of your picketing?
No, what I indicated is that because this thing, our picket will last for 2 weeks. So, on the first day, no petition will be presented. And when we'll be presenting a petition, that will let the Ghanaian public know that today we are going to present a petition to the American the officials at the American embassy. But for now, tomorrow we are only going to engage in a peaceful picket at the United States embassy to send the message loud and clear to the American government that Ghanaians want that gentleman back here. He is now engaging in some contrived excuses and reasons that he is entertaining some sense of apprehension that when he comes back to Ghana, he will be met with some form of hostility.
But you cannot speak for him, can you? So then the big question on my mind is what you're seeking to achieve, because clearly we heard from the U.S. authority that his visa did not expire, it was revoked, and so the processes are underway. Why are you piling pressure on them at this point in time when you can just wait, really, for the process to
You mean we are piling pressure on the Ken Ofori-Atta or piling pressure on the United States government?
It appears you're piling pressure on the United States government.
We are not piling pressure on the United States government because the United States government prides itself and styles itself as the cradle, as the beacon and bastion of democracy. You understand? So this is not even a pressure that the United States government cannot contain. This pressure, you cannot even describe it as a pressure because the gentleman will be facing the United States court tomorrow. And then here in Ghana, there's also a picket about the state gentleman. So
but you tell us that the protest is going to be for 2 weeks. You tell us that you'll be spending 2 weeks at the U.S. Embassy.
If it's brought back to Ghana, then that will be the end of our picket. But if he continues to sojourn in the United States, we will continue to picket the United States Embassy in Ghana.
So it means even past the 2 weeks timeline you're giving yourself, if you do not see any favorable response, you would continue to picket the U.S. Embassy?
We will continue to picket and find other democratic means to mount pressure on the government of Ghana and on the United States government to bring Ken Ofori-Atta back to Ghana.
And what do you mean by this democratic means?
I said democratic means we are not going to engage in any unconventional means to bring him back to Ghana. We will do everything within the precinct of democratic rules and democratic governance.
And it still brings me to my question: what your personal interest is in all of this? I'm
surprised you are describing it personal. I am an activist. You see, Dramani Salom Dramado is an activist and has been doing this thing for more than 2 decades of holding duty bearers accountable. And at the time Ken Ofori-Atta was engaged in destroying our economy, some of us started sounding alarm bells. Sometime in 2021, when he was retained as the Minister for Finance, we sounded alarm bell. We told the president at the time, Mr. Nana, what's his name, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to relieve that gentleman of his position, but he never heeded our call. His brother is breaking justice and taking the United States as his sanctuary and solid. We are telling the United States government that they shouldn't make their country as a sailing or safe haven for somebody who is evading justice and accountability.
But then, as a country, we've already triggered the extradition process. So why don't you wait for that to run its full course?
I didn't quite hear your question.
As a country, we've heard from our AG that they've triggered the extradition process. Why don't you wait for that to run its full course?
My sister, we have waited enough. The AG is doing what his office can allow, what his office mandates him to do. We are also doing what the Constitution of Ghana mandates us to do.
So you don't trust the AG to do his job?
Accountable.
You do not trust the AG to do his job?
As enshrined in Article 21(3) also.
So you do not trust the AG to do his job?
We are not in the list suggesting that we have reservations about the processes or the initiatives taken by the AG. We have no basis for any such reservations.
Stay with me, Salom. Let me bring in Franklin Kujo, as president of IMANI Africa. We appreciate your time here on Top Story. You agree with Arise Ghana that indeed the protest they plan to embark on is the way forward. Why?
Hi, good evening. First of all, I think we need to establish some basic facts about what I call a civic responsibility. I kept hearing you basically asking the gentleman, what's your locus in this? What is this? Look, every citizen has a right to ask questions or to demand answers from their duty bearers. And I think it's important that we establish that fact there. The reason why some of us actually support this cause, but it is not the only cause. There are several of them that some of us have supported in the past. But the reason why I typically think we should be supporting this cause is that, look, there's a gentleman we all knew. I mean, Ken. Some of us were close buddies, really good friends. But the decisions he took, people do not know. You know, he and Tesla were the signatories to that, what I call tax thieving Kelly GVG, which, by the way, the contract subsists all the way up to 2028. They never provided a single evidence of telco stealing money. But they were getting they were getting how much? $1.5 million quietly. I don't know whether they were taking it themselves or somebody else was enjoying. We never saw any single report. It didn't go to Parliament. Then come SML. You see the pattern. Look, so for me, I think it is important that he comes to answer those questions. I'm surprised. I think, like I said, this is a gentleman who preached a lot of civic responsibility. We were on several programs and all of that, and he evokes that type of charm. All of a sudden, this country has become like a banana republic. He can't come into the country to come and answer questions. Look, what he did, together with his lawyers, was to disrespect the OSP. They consistently maligned him, made him look like a toy, and the guy said, "I will teach you a lesson," and managed to put him on an Interpol list.
His lawyers initially argued that his health condition, was not favorable for Ken to be in the country. The reason they wanted him to be tried in absentia.
Well, I can argue with that, but you see, later events actually prove to us that some of that, about 70% of those are lies. Total lies. And those lawyers, by the way, I think we should be holding them account for the unfortunate situation Ken finds himself. I mean, Ken is being iced in a facility with criminals. Can you imagine? I mean, a whole finance minister who had this verve, who had this prestige. You guys messed up and actually made him walk into some facility because of what I call Tuno.
No, but to be clear, though, his visa was revoked. That's why he's in ICE detention.
Well, listen.
It has nothing to do with the extradition process.
If his lawyers were wiser, they would have told him that, look, my brother, calm down. Don't wait until your visa is revoked. Why was his visa revoked? Have you asked yourself why the visa was revoked? There are many Ghanaians who are in America. Why was Ken's visa revoked? So for me, look, the whole thing it's making me feel so bad that the man I used to cherish, the sort of conversation I used to have, has just become a brave coward. A very brave coward. And he doesn't want to come and answer questions. And then they went on hiring people to write all sorts of trash about Ghana. I mean, I remember when they wrote that piece of the Daily Telegraph. I had to call the editor of the Daily. I said, look, what nonsense. Did you guys verify all the things that the so-called journalists are writing?
But then we've heard from the U.S. Embassy. They spoke to the Foreign Affairs Minister, and they served notice that they will not stand in the way of Ghana's extradition processes. And so why not wait, really, for that process to complete and also run its course?
Madam, too much meat does not spoil the soup. The point really is that they are coordinated. I'd like to see many more of these, by the way. Well, look, Ken and I, IMANI virtually set up Occupy Ghana. Do you know that? We worked with him. We were all over, asking questions. This Ken was there, saying, the government don't do this. You should protest. Civil society, you are to the NDC government, and you're doing. Look, the things he said, the things he asked for. Why is he running away from the same things?
But the law is clear, though. You are innocent until proven guilty. We've heard from a right Ghana.
Hold on. Nobody has said. You see, I've not said he's stolen anything, did I? I'm only saying that I've seen some of the contract. Look, Kenny GVG. There were many nights before this guy signed Kenny GVG. That night, there's a whole their own deputy minister, one of the deputy ministers, smuggled it and came to us. Said, "Charlie, and they signed this thing. They didn't even go to Parliament. We've been bleeding this country $1.5 million every from 2017 up to today, and it's going up to 2028.
But frankly, you know that just as said in a Tamaklo, he could be tried in absentia, and that's an option also available.
Well, Sedna was actually tried here before she ran away, by the way. Sedna was an absconder. She's basically absconded from the law, and she must be brought. By the way, when we talk about this, what irritates me in this country? So bring Sedna. Why? Am I responsible for Sedna crimes? If whatever she has done, go and look for her. How many years did you spend in opposition? You should have done all of that. What is the point? So this whole thing to compare, it's quite irritating. Look, the fact fact of the matter, I'm only interested in my good friend Ken. I think he owe us explanations. And he has to come and face those questions. Nobody is going to do anything to him. If anybody tries to do anything to him, some of us will basically we may lay our lives. But he has to come and face the questions. Accountability is key.
We've heard from Arise Ghana that they will be doing this picketing for as long as the U.S. Embassy do not give them results. And so are you willing to stand by them throughout this process as IMANI Ghana?
I'm sure you know IMANI doesn't really differ, right? We'll stand by them. We'll stand by anybody else who wants to join the group. If you occupy Ghana as it is now, I don't know whether they exist, but if they come, we'll still have them. I'm just trying to tell you that all these things going on, let's not make it look as if some people are special than the others. No, never. It should never happen, right? They should come and face the law. Nobody will mistreat it. I'm sorry, nobody. And that thing people are asking, how will we be treated? Anyway, I don't want to. I'm not interested in equalization. The kinds of things these guys did when they were in power to ordinary citizens, ordinary people, ministers. What are you talking about? But anyway, that's not I don't do that.
So, Franklin, will you be with Arise Ghana?
You should come and answer the questions. That's all.
Franklin, will you be with Arise Ghana for the 2 weeks?
Sorry?
Would you be with Arise Ghana for the 2 weeks?
Oh.
Will you be there in person?
I've already told you that we are with them to whatever time they
so you are going to be there in person?
Whatever resource, yeah.
Okay, looking forward to seeing you there. Let me wrap up with Selam Dramani. He's a member of Arise Ghana. We appreciate your time. So what should we expect tomorrow?
What we expect tomorrow is that we are embarking on a historic picket at the United States Embassy. So I'm using the opportunity to call on Ghanaians of all life to come to the United States Embassy tomorrow to bring pressure to bear on the United States government to bring Ken Ofori-Atta to repatriate, deport, or extradite him back to Ghana.
And how many are you?
How many are we at in terms of the membership of Arise Ghana?
And how many people will be showing up tomorrow?
The letter we wrote to the police, we actually stated the 2,000.
I see. Thank you so much, Selam Dramani.
You're welcome, and good evening.
Member of Arise Ghana. I've also been engaging Franklin Kujo, president of IMANI Africa. And that's how we wrap up Top Story. Up next is Newsnight.